Maybe if you just refresh. Oh, yeah.
I will have to do that.
Oh, yeah. And there I am. Okay. And we're back. Yeah. Okay. We're back. We're back. Yes. Where was I? Oh, thank you, Ben. You found my pen. Anyways, as I was saying, okay, yeah. We lost you at the book sale. Dollar might want this in the future. Lol. Okay, great. So yeah, I picked this up at the food court. It was just like, all right, cool. This is a cool book. And it wasn't until recently that I actually flipped through it and was like, okay, actually, this is an amazing book. This is actually so handy. And it exemplifies exactly what I was just talking about there. So this is soil temperature at 12 millimeters, about half an inch depth, and beds running east to west, again, likely for maximum solar gain. And so the ambient air temperature, if you'll notice, is lowest down here throughout the day. We're starting at 12 a.m. here, 12 p.m. That's one full day. So that is a diurnal cycle right there. Now, the flat portion of your bed. So imagine if you got a raised bed and it's like this and that, and this side is the south side. That, again, is getting that more direct incident solar radiation. And then that top, it's getting more diluted, whereas, you know, the north slope of that isn't actually on here. But it is, it would be, you can expect that it would be getting less. And so I actually got to put that to the test this year. And again, this is just a graphic to signify exactly what I was talking about before, but on a very unscaled version of a raised bed here. And so not only is, you know, is it warmer here, but you're getting more photons, and that is what plants need to actually photosynthesize. So you're getting more productive photosynthesis there. And so this is the aspect map of Moose's Groovy Grove. And this is from Contour Map Generator. And this is derived from LiDAR data. So if you're interested in that, send me an email at mitch@vergepermaculture.ca and we'll see what I can do for you. So this, as the legend suggests, the red is west-facing slopes. The yellow is south, green is east, and blue is north. And so I was curious as to see, like, okay, well, how did this actually manifest in our own efforts this year? And so right here, this is east facing, and these pictures are from July 25th of this year. And so this was our first fruit guild that we planted, and we've got some squash. This is an apple with black currants on either side. And actually from Sean Dombrowski, I got this tip that if you put black currants near your fruit trees, the black currants mask the scent of the apples, and so you're less prone to deer pressure. And we do have we got these two woofers at our house. They just sit on, we make them sit on the porch all night, and then if any deer come by, they just chase them away. They're our dogs, Moose and Dolly. And we've got some foxgloves and some squash, and the squash was really the big metric of success here, and or maybe lack thereof in this instance. We've got another guild over here. This is a plum, and we just set up more stuff. There's another squash in there. South facing in our annual garden right here. So the squash, you know, they're doing much better comparatively speaking in this one, in the south facing slope. It's getting full sun in the summer, 12 hours. And I will note that these were planted later in the year than these top two. And then holy heck, look at this one. South facing, sloped at 5 degrees, full sun in summer, about 9 hours, and it's in a hot microclimate. And like the difference, the proof's in the pudding here, folks. Like, that's crazy. So that was a really fun experiment actually to see manifest on the property itself. But I will note that, you know, just because you have south facing slopes and a hot microclimate doesn't necessarily mean you should go ahead and plant every single thing you have there. We planted different things in different microclimates around here for for good reasons. And that is, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And that's because, let's say, for instance, we had a very warm early spring. And as a result of that very warm early spring, in this sun trap right here, our plants decided to bloom and blossom. And whereas maybe over here, they hadn't yet, because it's still, they haven't had that physics-based signal to start actually, you know, getting out there, and it's time to be alive. It's springtime, you know. But if it's blooming over here and it's not blooming here, this is more prone to a late spring frost. And so if there is a late spring frost, then, you know, this one's kind of pooched for a while. It has to recover. Whereas this one, it will naturally just go right into spring. And hopefully when the instance of frost is less likely. And if you listen to Mark Shepard, then you know that this is pretty integral to have this sort of bioassurance built into your systems. And this is the fun, maybe the most fun project we had this year. Now, this is what it looked like when we rocked up, and this space, as it was not usable. You know, it was just, it was there, but it wasn't necessarily accessible. You know, there was a clear mental desire line for me when I walked out the front door right here, and I wanted to walk through here, but there was just so much underbrush and growth in here that it wouldn't have been a pleasant experience. So it just sat there and nothing came of it. And I got to think, I was like, well, wait a minute, I want to go through here, but it's also I'm getting a yield out of this spot. So let's take a deeper look at what's actually going on here. So we've got a northwest facing wall, and this slope gently slopes down this way. It's north/northwest facing. It's lots of trees, and snow persists here. In the same way that one slide, the north side of that slope, there was less evaporation. That was very evident here when I was watching the snow melt. And so the yields that I was getting from this area was shade, moisture, refuge in the summer, or you'll see in a little bit how it became a refuge in the summer, and a lack of sunlight. So all in all, I could judge that as being a very cool microclimate. So I figured, well, what wants to thrive here? What needs does this microclimate match? And it became the funky fungi forest. It became our mushroom garden. And so now this place is where I work in the summer. You know, the house is right here. It's close to Wi-Fi. I can come out here. I get refuge from the heat. I'm still outside, and it is really quite pleasant. And we can have dinner parties around here. This acts as a stage, so we can congregate friends. We can play music. We can have fun, and we get mushrooms out of here. And the process in doing so was actually like remarkably simple. So I'll walk you through that. How am I doing for time? Where am I at? It's 8:10. I'm going till 8. Am I going till 9? Hey, Ben, when am I going till? When does Q&A start for me? Oh, it does happen. Okay, better start boogieing. Okay, anyways, so we were getting mushrooms out here, and I was just about to tell you about how I did so. So we cleared off all of these lower branches, obviously. And what I did is I put a layer of cardboard down here, and then a layer of fresh, I'm good. Say like 8:30, 8:45? I'm supposed to be done at 9. Okay. Right on. And so what I did is I raked down a little bit, just I got some of the lower part out of the way, put a layer of cardboard down, put a layer of wood chips down. And it's really important that you use fresh wood chips, because when you think about, sorry, like when you go into the forest and there are logs just on the ground and they've got mushrooms growing out of it, well, that means that log is more or less already occupied otherwise by other fungal. species. And so what you really want to do is get those fresh wood chips. In this instance, it was birch, and these are wine caps. And I did also inoculate with the oysters. They didn't do as well on the top layer. I didn't get any oysters this year, so we'll see what happens next year, but we've had tremendous success with the wine caps. We've had so many at some points that I don't even know what to do with them because we have so many. And caution, if you are going to go out and grow wine caps, it's recommended that you don't have them 3 days in a row. Otherwise, you may have some bowel complications. I've heeded Paul Stamets' words on this, so I haven't actually put that to the test. But if you choose to, please let us know in the Verge portal, in the community tab. But anyways, they're so yummy. They're so good. And okay, the other microclimate. This is what we call the hot seats. And this is the southwest facing wall and southwest facing slope. So this is just east of that sun trap that I was telling you about. And we were hanging out with our shirts off in early April. As you can see, there's lots of concrete around here. So there's lots of thermal mass. We've got higher albedo walls. So when I say albedo, that just means the reflectivity. So, you know, how white things reflect more sunlight than like darker colored things. Like if I went out in a really sunny day, this shirt would absorb a lot more sunlight than this white shirt right here, because it would reflect right off. And so we've got a lot of higher albedo walls right here. And in the summer, we've got full 8 hours of sun. So let's take a look at the site characteristics. We've got a southwest facing wall. Okay, did that. The yields. Let's talk about yields. We've got heat. We've got refuge in the winter. As I was saying, you know, it's still pretty cold in April where we are. So we've got refuge in the winter. You know, if we're feeling cheeky, we can come out here and drink a beer at 2 p.m. on in the middle of winter, and it's great. Now, this is not supposed to say lack of sunlight. That was an artifact of me copy pasting from here. Good old copy pasta, but it's irrelevant. There's plenty of sunlight here, so let's just scratch that out, and let's call it a hot microclimate because that's exactly what it is. And so, what wants to thrive here? What conditions permit or facilitate meet the needs of various things? Lots of fun stuff. So we grew lots of cucamelons here. We got peppers and tomatoes and basil, herbs, cucumbers, eggplant. I think we got 4 different types of peppers here. And again, I wanted to get a lot of good photos around here, but I just had to grab what I had from my phone because I was busy planning the rest of the conference and then gardening otherwise. And so this was, like, again, this is our first year gardening, and it just goes to show, like, when it's one thing to team up with biology, and that is incredibly important. And so from this point forward, our mission is just to increase our soil fertility as much as we can. But it really helps to be able to partner with physics and use those physics to grow. We don't have hoop houses. We don't have greenhouse. We don't have cold frames. And this is what we were working with. This was just 6 months. We wanted to grow as much different stuff as we could. And so we did. And just to empirically show the difference between these two places, I went out with my my handy dandy little handheld weather meter, and I went to the Funky Fungi Forest, and this was one of the hotter days of summer, and it was 28.1 degrees over there. But over here in the hot seats, it was 31, but it felt like 34 degrees. So that's a 6 degree temperature difference, which makes a huge difference. Like, I wouldn't want to put mushrooms. I wouldn't want to expose them to these kind of conditions over here. And I would have an incredibly hard time going cucamelons and tomatoes over here. It just wouldn't work. So that was really neat to see that physics is a thing. And so this is what I've been using to monitor. So I've got one of these right here. It's not in the picture, obviously, because this was the before. This thing is so flippin' handy. It's incredible, because my favorite thing from it has been the lightning activity, because I can see, it tells me like, okay, lightning is on its way. And then I can look on windy. If I've got time, I'll show you how I use windy to kind of give myself an early hail warning system. And then that little handheld one right here, it takes wind speed, humidity, atmospheric pressure, temperature, and it's Bluetooth. And then you just hook it up to your phone. You go out there and you measure, and then there you go. And we do have a coupon code for these. It's 10% off if you use the coupon code Verge Permaculture for these at weatherflow.com. And okay, that gets me to some Frosty Boy stuff. So when I was in New Zealand, I did my master's in frost prediction. And then, so what I did is I developed a statistical model that can predict frost based off of the circulation patterns above. And those, oh my goodness, I need to drink some water. Bear with me here, please. Okay. So what the model found was that when you have high pressure systems, and I'll pull up a screen that'll show you exactly what I mean by that. But what you need to know is what happens when there's a high pressure system. And that tends to be like today, if you were in central Alberta, it was beautiful. We were inside, but I could see outside, there's not a cloud in the sky. It was so nice. And why that is that air from a high pressure system, you have air descending down and it's pushing any sort of humidity, water content down rather than up. So when things are going up, especially when it has water in it, it cools, condenses, turns into clouds. In some instances, it precipitates out as rain or snow. And so you'll notice like high pressure systems, clear blue skies. At nighttime, the effect of that is that long wave radiation. So that heat that's been accumulating throughout the day is easily lost to space. There's no blanket of cloud to keep it in. And at nighttime, what happens eventually is because cold air sinks, it goes down. It's like water, water is more dense than air. And that's why, it goes down at the easiest route possible. Little rills to gullies to canyons. Air is much the same. It will go downhill and it flows like a fluid. And that cold air can sink and get to a cold enough temperature. And usually at least in the wine industry or the frost forecasting industry in New Zealand, it's 1.4 degrees Celsius as an air temperature close to the ground is considered to be a frost, because whatever is radiating out is going to be colder. And remember that temperature is actually a metric of the speed at which molecules are moving, not necessarily how hot something is. That is a direct result of movement. And so when things are cold, they're not moving very much. And so those physical things that are sticking out like buds in spring, when they are exposed to this very cold air, they're radiating and it'll be much colder. And that's what leads to a frost. And I'm gonna stop this presentation. I'm gonna get to the resources that I really like and have been really influential for me. But first, I'm gonna open up a sky map and explain, or rather show, what high pressure systems look like and some tools for you so that you can, get ready for a frost coming towards you. So I'm going to go to New Zealand actually, because that's where it's springtime right now. And I actually think that there's there was some primo conditions for frost just the other day. So if you haven't been to this website, I highly recommend doing so. You just type in earth.nullschool.net and I'll take you here. The menu to view everything is at this bottom left right here. And all of these controls I'll go through those first. You can go back here, back in time. You can go back to 2013, October 2013. So that's a lot of data. And this is where that reanalysis data that I was telling you about, those older images are formulated from that reanalysis. And in this particular instance, we're looking at MSLP, which stands for mean sea level pressure. And so that's essentially a proxy for the height of the atmosphere, hello kitten, above you. And obviously the higher it is, things go from high to low. And so you'll notice right here, this big high pressure system right here, represented by this gray, is flowing all towards this lower pressure system represented by this purple right here. There's some really gnarly low pressure systems over here. And you'll see like that's, even though there's a low pressure system right here, it's a lot of the air from this high pressure system is being sucked towards this really large low pressure system here. So a couple days ago, maybe actually, yeah, this is pretty standard. Especially over right here. So you have, I'd have to look at the other ones, but in general, when a frost happens, you need to consider your antecedent conditions. So the conditions that are leading up to that evening that you might actually be worried about frost. So if the sky is clear and you're thinking, okay, maybe there'll be a frost tonight, take a look, see at this, or just spend some time outside and be like, okay, where is the wind coming from? If it's coming from the north and you're in the northern hemisphere, you're gonna, when, being in the northern hemisphere, that the further north you go, the colder it is. And so if the wind is coming from the north, it's likely to be blowing that northerly cold air towards you. And so the risk of frost just went up a little bit. And I remember I was talking about a little bit about the absence or presence of clouds and how that can either, the absence of clouds would make it so radiation can leave, and then the presence of clouds effectively acts as a blanket to radiation. So it just bounces heat back in. So you're effectively making sure that there's, in that instance, that there's likely not going to be a frost because it's that heat energy is being bounced back towards the Earth's surface. So if you go into here and actually look at relative humidity, which would be a metric for how much moisture is in the air, it's looking like there's an 84% relative humidity. So, I'm going to say that's probably not likely that there's going to be a frost. And so why is there so much relative humidity? Look at this atmospheric river coming in right here. That's pretty gnarly. And okay, I also want to show you, and my thoughts are with the people of Nova Scotia right now. And this website is a tool that you can use to like have impending, or have an idea of impending weather conditions for you. And that I spend 2 hours talking about this in our permaculture design courses, just these weather things. But it says 943 kilopascals here. That's the same as millibars. But this was the lowest pressure storm to make Canadian landfall in our records at 931 millibars. So that was the actual recorded pressure. And again, that just goes to show there are limitations to using this technology. It's, it's not this little dot right here. Oh boy. Doesn't necessarily represent all that. And so there's limitations there, but so that's 943, and really strong Antarctic storm is 959 kilopascals. So again, like the lower that number is, the gnarlier that storm is. So 931 is crazy. So my thoughts go to you for the people in Nova Scotia and the Maritimes of Canada. I hope you're doing well. And let's get back to my favorite resources. Where is my Zoom? Here it is. And okay, so this is an incredible book. Maddie actually got this for me as a gift one year. Thank you, Maddie. And it is just so cool. And this actually inspired my climactic backbone graphs, because I really wanted just a lot of, you know, when you're designing with climate, you need to have that context. And there's a lot of data out there. It's just, it's hard to get your hands on. And once you get your hands on it, it's not necessarily all that, it doesn't make sense. Like a table doesn't make all that much sense. And I had a burning feeling in me. I was like, I gotta turn this into something that makes sense. And this book helped with that. And so if you're interested in this does have a little bit more of a spin on architectural, like matching your architectural form to your climate, but it's still incredibly handy. Again, I showed you this book. It's a great one. And the Boundary Layer Climates by Tim Oak. This was very, very handy in my thesis. The Climate Near the Ground and A Golden Thread. This is all about some solar, like the history of using solar for different engineering practices, whether it's like a solar water heater, solar showers. It's very, and a history as to how humans had actually oriented their cities towards, actually planning cities around the sun, because sunlight is obviously incredibly important, and using it as a passive source of heat is also incredibly important, because why would you want to waste energy on something that just shines on you, or when there is something that shines on you all day, every day? Isaac Asimov is one of my favorite authors. My favorite fiction book, or one of them rather, is it's not one book, it's the Foundation trilogy. And then I started really getting into his nonfiction, and the way that he lays out a lot of this is I mean, he's written a lot of fiction, so his nonfiction actually reads very easily, and it's super easy to digest. If you're interested, I would highly encourage you to check out some of his works in both the fiction and nonfiction realm. And I think that about wraps it up for me. Thank you very much. Oh, right on time almost. Thank you for hanging out and listening to me be a nerd. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you soon. I'm looking forward to your questions.
Oh, thank you very much, Mitch. We were watching in the other room and we laughed.
Oh, good.
That was a great presentation. I learned a little bit and laughed a lot of it, and it was just a really great time.
Right on.
All right, let's do a very quick interlude break. So I'm just going to open up the slides here, share my screen. And let's get this into presenter mode. So once again, if you are one of the final few here who've been holding out all day long, this is the Permaculture Design Conference presented by Verge. Permaculture. We are pretty much at the end of the day here. It's been a very long day indeed.
Yeah.
Mitch and I have been awake since the wee hours of the morning, sitting on this couch, bringing you this conference. And so just a few reminders for you, if you are interested in taking our permaculture design course, it does kick off October 20th. If you've taken a permaculture design course and you're looking to take that next step, we do have the Verge Permaculture Academy. And one thing I forgot to mention is if you are interested in a permaculture design course, we do have scholarships available if finances are a limiting factor for you. And of course, a big shout out to Tagari Publishers for sponsoring 2 full scholarships in our permaculture design course. We are very grateful for that. And of course, if you've been enjoying the show, we are making all of the recordings available for free for a week. Monday, 1 week from Monday. But if you want lifetime access, you're going to want to pick up our very inquisitive Permi Pass with the VIP Pass. And tonight is going to be your last night to scoop that up and receive the maximum value out of this pass, because tomorrow morning we are having an exclusive pre-conference Q&A session with Rob Avis, Carmen Lamoureux, and Andrew Millison. So buy the VIP pass tonight. It's only $150. You're going to get all of your personal property questions answered in those Q&A sessions, and you get lifetime access to the recordings of our last summit, the one last fall, the Hope, Knowledge, and a Plan Summit. And then you also get your choice of a 30-day free trial in our upcoming Verge Permaculture Academy, $100 off the permaculture design course, or your choice of a PDF copy between one of these two books you see here on the screen. And of course, today would not have been possible without the support of On Growing Works, one of our platinum sponsors for this event, and we will say some more about them in the longer interlude to follow. And it's time for some Q&A.
Okay, you want to ask these?
I do.
I got them right here.
I do want to ask these. We're going to go based on the popular questions at the top. So Lupa, 20 minutes ago asks, do you have a recommendation for a home scale weather station? I think you kind of answered that in your presentation.
Yes, but that weather flow one, Tempest by Weather Flow is really, really good. And I see as a meteorologist, like those measurements are really important to me, and having them be accurate is also, and it has been nothing but amazing. And it's just such a little compact unit that goes onto Wi-Fi. I could show you what's happening there right now, and there's historical weather records that I can go and reference in the future. Those records are held, so I can just go reference them whenever I'd like. And
how much does something like that cost?
I believe with shipping that was about $400.
Okay. Sounds like I mean, yeah, $400 is a lot, but in terms of the knowledge and the information that you get is pretty invaluable. Yeah.
And I'd say, like, you don't need one. It's important if you want to use it. You know, it's not necessary, but I mean, that's just how my mind is obviously geared, and I like knowing that kind of stuff. So and that being said, it also has a lot of, I'm not really quite into the smart home integrations, but if you are, it can do that too. And so, Rob and I we have had talks about possibly using that to automate the greenhouse as well. But there are a lot of options out there. But if you're just looking for a tiny home scale, simple, put it in, there you go.
Cool.
That's the one.
Thank you very much. We got a more popular question from TJ now. What effect does a body of water have around a landmass? And it looks like TJ is located on Montreal Island.
Okay, so yeah, water has an incredibly high specific heat capacity, which means that it takes a lot of energy to heat it up. But as a result, it holds onto that energy really well. So that is why you'll see some greenhouses have a lot of like big water drums in them, because if it's going to take some energy to heat those up, but it'll re-radiate that out at a pretty ready rate during the evening when it gets really cold. So, and I know this question is about a landmass, but the same principle still applies. So you'll notice on the coasts, your extremes in temperature are much more, they're less pronounced than in a continental climate where, we are, because you have that moderating effect of the ocean. And the same goes for lakes and larger bodies of water.
Thank you for that. We got a question from Deborah. We got a few questions from Deborah, actually, but one of them is, never mind, we got another question. Well, I'll ask this one from Deb first. Can you dehydrate the mushrooms for storage and later use? Well, I think she's talking about the one.
Yes, you can. You most certainly can. And we haven't done that. We just kind of been eating them as they come up, or giving them away. You certainly can dry them. And I did an interview with I think his name was Samir a couple years ago, and he was telling me about how if you actually sun dry mushrooms, they will synthesize vitamin D while they're sun drying. So that's how a lot of indigenous peoples would get vitamin D, because sun dried, that you're synthesizing vitamin D for you, and then you eat it and you get that vitamin D.
Wow. So many things we just don't know. Okay, next question from Kim plus A. Are there acupuncture points in the climate system? If so, what are they?
That's a really good question, and I would have to ponder on it for a while. Or Kim, if you go into the chat and like, I unfortunately missed that point of Zach Weiss's presentation. So the concept of acupuncture points is a little bit lost on me, but if you put a clarifying sentence in the chat, I might be able to address that in a little bit.
Great.
And see how it goes.
Microclimates are the acupuncture points.
Are they?
What we're talking about.
Oh, well, yeah, I thought you meant like broad scale, like in the large synoptic climate system, like what is there a pattern to like how things flow? And there is, but I don't know if that necessarily comes from
If you
one-
didn't hear, Rob just poked his head in and said that microclimates are the acupuncture point of climate.
but they go both ways, you know?
All right. Okay, another question from Kim plus A. Does frost do damage directly, or is it more of an indicator?
Good question. Yeah, it does do damage directly. So there's actually two different types of frost. There's intracellular and interstitial frost. And so if you had, say for instance, all of a sudden the temperature went from 5 degrees to -5 in a really rapid span of time, those cells would just freeze. You know, they just go, actually that was the wrong sound. They would just, they'd freeze. They'd flash freeze. Whereas when you have that long drawn out frost, like from radiative cooling, when a bud of a tree or a grapevine or what have you is radiating out really slowly, what's actually happening there is the water in between the cells of the plant tissue is sucking up the moisture from inside of the cells and then expanding and rupturing the cell walls. So it is very damaging, yes. But it depends on which kind of frost.
Very nuanced answer.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, I want to ask, see if there's any older questions here that are worth getting answered. From CJ, do you have any more tips for increasing the heat year-round in your garden?
Yeah, so in introducing things like with a lot of thermal mass, so I was talking about those water barrels earlier, concrete's a good one too. Making sure you have lower albedo surfaces and substances that have a high specific heat capacity. So it might take a lot of energy to, you know, heat them up, but it will also readily re-radiate that heat throughout the evening.
Yes.
And optimizing solar energy. You know, I was talking about you need that input of that solar radiation, and that's the whole driving mechanism behind everything that I've been talking about, is that initial energy input. So if you can optimize that, you know, I've toyed in my head around like using mirrors and bouncing light around would be cool, just to up the gains, solar gains.
Those solar gains.
Then yeah, that could be another way. So yeah, thermal mass. Oh, and also a really important one is to reduce wind, because wind effectively strips heat away faster. So to have effective wind breaks is also really handy. And that goes for your house as well. I mean, houses that are totally exposed to the elements, you're going to be cranking the heat a lot more than if you have effective wind breaks.
Yeah.
And then again, that reanalysis data that I showed you guys before, just take a look at your wind speed and wind direction, where it's coming from. You find the predominant wind direction in the winter, you can figure out where your most effective place to put your windbreak is.
Another tip, plop a greenhouse on top of your garden.
Those aren't always affordable.
Aren't always affordable. What about just like a hoop house?
Hoop houses, yeah, they're good.
Yeah. Lyric Hartley, congratulations on winning the prize. I think yesterday as well. I remember giving that to you. What is a good primer on understanding pressure measurements? I have a personal weather station, but have not known how to leverage the pressure measurements. My property is in a narrow valley.
Oh, okay. What is a good primer on understanding pressure measurements? What I did, I suppose, is because when I started learning about all this stuff, the concept of, 931 millibars being the lowest pressure of a storm to make landfall in Canada, that meant absolutely nothing to me. It was just, okay, 931. That seems like a high number. What does that actually mean? That doesn't mean anything to me. So what I'd recommend is actually going to earth.nelschool.net or windy.com and navigating to the pressure fields and like, okay, well, the pressure is this right now, and this is the phenomena that is occurring right now. Because that will, when you start to pay more attention to that, and that's a very good tool to be able to actually really quickly and readily just click on something and say, okay, this is the general area at which the pressure is sitting, and your weather station will tell you relative to that what's going on, but that'll give you a good relative metric as to where you are.
Great. We have a question from Jennifer. How would a west-facing house facing an east-facing slope be impacted?
West. So, are there trees on the top of that east? So I'm imagining if this is the west-facing house and there's an east right here, I'd be worried if there's trees right here. Again, you want to have more solar gain, and if your slope is higher up, then you're going to get less sunlight because of your solar angle. But I wouldn't be too worried. It'd be the same. It's going to be your warmer microclimate. Ben, that would oh wow, that's actually cool. You could that's actually a pretty good situation to be in, because if it's warmer but you're east facing, you've got a good mix of having a little bit of a cooler microclimate right here. But it depends. I mean, it depends. That's his classic answer.
But what if you happen to be in the southern hemisphere with a northwesterly wind, and there's a tree that has been flagging towards?
I would say, that could be an interesting place to explore with growing lettuces earlier on in the season, because you have that point of that microclimate right here from your house, but you have an east-facing slope. So it's really hard to say, but just experiment. Like, take different plants that are better suited to different conditions and see which one thrives.
Yeah, I didn't mean to laugh at that, because Mitch, like, was actually understanding that and providing actual physics-based answers, and it was me being a doofus, not being able to visualize that. So making a joke to mask my insecurity. Anyways, next question for you here, Mitch. Deborah Amaral is asking, what is the way to get the discount on Weatherflow? I think she missed the coupon code.
Oh, it's just Verge Permaculture, capital V, capital P.
Verge Permaculture.
And if that doesn't work, send me an email, mitch@vergepermaculture.ca. I'll sort you out.
All lowercase. Another one from Deborah. Are all the plants on the south side in containers? That was 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. Okay. So the on the southwest side, where we're growing peppers and tomatoes and basil and eggplants, this, that, and the other thing, they were in raised concrete beds, and they were full of perennial stuff before. And so yeah, they were in. There's 3 raised concrete beds, and then we have pots on benches elsewhere. So we set up some trellises and then pots in benches.
Cool. Question from Elisa B. How did a young man like you encounter an old guy like Isaac Asimov? I was raised on him in the 1950s and 1960s.
Well, that's a fun question. It's an interesting story. I remember as a child, I was hanging out in the office, and I looked up at this book, and it had a really cool spine, and there was this really cool cover with spaceships on it. And I tried to I tried cracking it open and reading it. And I got a little bit in. It was like, there's no way I can comprehend anything that's happening in this book, but one day I will. And then that day came, and that book was the Foundation trilogy and iRobot. And I can't remember the other one that was in there. But anyways, it was an Isaac Asimov package of good books, and I love the Foundation trilogy. It's been just been incredibly formative, I believe.
Cool. Another question here. This one from TJ. What does the body of water have around land, i.e. river?
What does body of water have around? And maybe
Maybe
I'm
they started
understanding,
typing.
like-
Oh, I think they started typing and then kind of messed up. This is the same question
No,
as the landmass one. I'm going to skip it. TJ, if you want to rephrase that, throw it in the chat. Chris P, where to start in compiling this information into the sector diagrams you see for seasons, temps, water, wind, etc.?
Great question. So where to start in compiling them? That NASA reanalysis data set is your go-to there in terms of actually getting that data. In the works of creating something that will help you out. That's all I can say right now, but stay tuned.
Okay. Jennifer just says, thank you. I will ask more about this in the permaculture design course. Really helpful.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Julian King, do you have any resources for people who want to learn about meteorology but are bad at math? This stuff is super interesting to me.
I'll be the first to admit I'm not the biggest math person either. I love math. I love math. I wish I had done more of it, and I love math. It's so fascinating and cool, but I wouldn't say that I'm particularly like a math whiz. But the best place to learn is probably YouTube, like Bill Nye, the Science Guy. Yeah, just like look up Bill Nye, the Science Guy, weather, climate, and you're on the right road. And then just other YouTube videos, honestly. And then that, and actually just looking at earth.nelschool.net or windy.com and taking a look at, okay, this is what's happening right now. I'm going to go outside and match that to this behavior in which way the atmosphere is turning. And that's a good way to go about it. Oh, you know what? I actually missed a very important part of my talk that I missed out, that I meant to add at the end.
You got 10 minutes.
And this will be very quick. Is if, I understand that maybe this is a technologically rich approach to this, but at the end of the day, to find microclimates. Oh, that's another part. I didn't ask you to put that in the Garden of Resources, my discovering microclimates worksheet.
We can absolutely do that for tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna bring that up actually as well. Actually, can you just find the conference page and then share that?
Yep.
And then ask me another question while you do that.
Mitch Rollick, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What are your top 3 favorite? Well, you already mentioned a lot of books. Who have
What's
been
in the crowd? Was there more?
No, there were no more from the crowd. These are Ben questions now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you had there was 16, 17 questions there. Who have been some of your greatest sources of inspiration? Your people you've looked up to?
That's a really hard question.
So I'm sorry, which conference page are we looking at?
This one right here.
Okay.
It's actually, so this will end up in, I'll just beat around the bush, your question there a little bit. And go to here. So this is the conference landing page right here, that you all would have gone to, no, it's not. Oh, what is going on? Is Verge Permaculture.ca just our conference page right now?
Oh, strange.
I wonder if Michelle knows that. Or did I delete that?
Maybe you deleted it.
Oh, no, I think I just deleted it. Okay, anyway, so the landing page, permaculture-design-conference right here. If you go down to the bottom, I've actually created a little microclimate diagnostic worksheet for you. And so you can print this off and go around. So you can area 1, area 2, area 3, area 4, area 5. So you label your area, whichever one you want in there. You go around, see how many sun hours you have, like what the sun quality is, the aspect, the topography, slope angle, if there's water present, vegetation, influence in wind, on wind or from wind, presence of other elements, observations of animal behavior. And that's what I really actually wanted to get into. If you've got dogs, that is probably one of your most useful tools to identifying microclimates, because like you'll notice that your dogs are going to want to hang out. If it's really cold out, they're going to naturally go to where it's warm. If it's too hot out, they're going to naturally go to where it's cold. So just keep tabs on where your dogs are going. And that has been an amazing tool of observation, just to see. And another good frost prediction tip for you is, if you're going to bed and your feet are cold and you look out the window and you can see your dog's breath, there's probably going to be a frost. At least for me. I can't speak for everyone's toes being cold, but I know Maddie's toes were cold that night, and I looked outside and I could see Moose just, and his breath was just billowing out. I was like, okay, it's going to be cold tonight. And then when he woke up the next morning, there was a frost, and that was like June 1st.
Physics-based tools for frost prediction.
Yeah. And then the second page just goes into some more points that you can use to,
this is great,
to identify. So that's a resource for you if you want to go around your property and identify some.
Oh yeah. Maybe we can share the link for this in the chat. Yeah,
that's a great idea. I'm going to put that in the chat right now, folks. So yeah, animals are your best friend. And who are my most influential people? I think it's been incredibly dynamic. You know, there's been different stages in my life where different people have been really inspiring and influential. Long-standing, my parents for sure have been incredibly influential. Always, they raised me, so it's a bit of an influence and inspiration there. And there's too many people to choose from, I think.
Another question?
Yeah, well, let's see if we can get
what has been your worst day?
What has been my
on the homestead so far?
My worst day on the homestead
that have made you be like, why the heck am I doing this? I should stop.
That hasn't happened.
That's great. You made clearly you're on the right path.
There have been times where I've been like, oh my goodness, what do I do? And it's more of an overwhelm than like a deep feeling of despair.
Yeah.
And being overwhelmed, that passes. So
it's feedback.
Yeah.
What are some other questions I could ask you? What project are you most excited about in the next 1 year?
In the next 1 year?
The next 1 year.
Well, you know, I want to do more earthworks. I need to be able to, I need to learn to get an excavator and go have some fun and do that. I think I need Tyler to come over and show me how to do some stuff and do some, I have ideas, you know, and I think that's what Zach Weiss really got into is the map is not the territory.
Yeah.
and to actually be able to go and test and see like, okay, what's actually going to be appropriate for me. So I think that's going to be a big project. But ideally, if that all goes well, then what I'd really like to do is have a bunyip pump that goes from the beaver dams up to our dugout, and then you can fill that up, but have a culvert that goes out with the monk pipe. So if it gets to a point where we don't necessarily want the water to go into a swale that goes from the dugout and wraps all the way around the property that has trees on there.
Very cool.
And animals, we want to get sheep and pigs. And I'm just excited about pretty much every
busy year.
It's going to be very, very busy.
Did you have any questions for Mitch? He came over.
No, I think folks
Intention.
are wanting to bring it to an end.
Yeah,
It is
However,
about bedtime.
If you bring up Google Earth Pro right now, Mitch can show you how, or you can let Mitch drive. Are you able to screen share on there?
Yeah,
Okay. I gave some more thought to that acupuncture point.
Mhm.
And so I do think microclimates are a little like acupuncture points, but when you look on the large scale, this is one of the coolest places.
It's going to take a while.
Coolest things about where we live, and was something that I observed after the fact. Mitch and I both live in the same general locale. We live in this really neat watershed. It's the only watershed in Alberta that's not glacier fed. So everything, all the water that comes in here is a result of rainfall. And as a result of that, we have one of the highest rainfalls in Alberta, which is why our ecosystem expresses itself in the form of forests. In fact, we have 3 different biomes here. So we've got the parkland, prairie, and boreal ecosystems all in this one little region that we live in. And there's some really cool stuff happening in the mountains. And I believe these are all orographic effects. I don't know for sure. And I was thinking it'd be really cool to monitor windy in Alberta and then see what those patterns look like over a long period of time, specifically in our region. Because if you look at the satellite photo, which Mitch is just pulling up, we have an expression of trees that you don't find anywhere else in Alberta.
Yeah. Or even like I'll share my screen, but when we zoom in, you look southeast of us and there's no trees.
Yeah,
It's
it
crazy.
just stops. And so there's something going on there with the way that air and water interacts with the mountains.
I think it also could just be the trees.
Oh, interesting.
Like
So
the
they're creating their
biotic
own-
pump theory
Hmm.
is crazy because what that is proposing or hypothesizing is that the trees themselves are facilitating low pressure.
Right.
And then that brings in,
Hmm.
and then, you go east of the number 2 where there's no trees, there's no rain.
Interesting.
I'm just trying to load the earth on my computer here.
So while we're waiting for that to load, I'm curious to know how everything went for you guys. Any feedback that you've got is fantastic. And what are you guys most excited about from today? And what are you most excited about tomorrow?
Got a lot of LiDAR
Okay.
data sets in there.
All right. Well, we might have to do this tomorrow then.
Yeah.
I think the crew wanted to come in and say goodbye as well. So if you guys are hearing us, come on in.
We have some giveaways still to do as well.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, we do. Probably end this recording pretty soon here as well.
Yeah. Let's end that recording and let's do a giveaway and announce the last one. And thank you to our amazing sponsors. We are still day 2. Man, I didn't want to load these ones. I really didn't like the giveaway slides, eh? That's okay. I can load it on here.
The conference cat.
Ooh.
So fuzzy. What kind of cat is this?
I don't know. It's a local Yoford cat. It's a Yoford breed.
Maybe it's got some Maine Coon in it.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Let's play from this slide. Okay. Okay. If you're just joining us, we're going to go to bed pretty soon. But you would have been at the Permaculture Design Conference
You are still at.
presented by Verge Permaculture. As I was just saying, that wraps up today. But if you missed any of your favorite people's talks, those recordings will be available on Monday for a week. And then after that, they are available only with the VIP pass, which also comes with VIP access to a exclusive Q&A with Rob Avis, Carmen Lemereux, and Andrew Millison tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So if you're in the Verge portal right now, and you go to the VIP room, you'll have the Zoom links already preloaded right there. So tomorrow morning, you can just go to whichever one you want. If you have yet to purchase that, then you can purchase that by clicking on that VIP room and then clicking on the link in there. If you're watching just on Vimeo itself, you just click on the bottom right Verge icon of the video player, and there's a link tree that will direct you to where you need to go. Rob.
So,
No, there we go.
it's just coming up right now.
There you go. Oh,
That's funny.
ooh.
We're also launching the Verge Permaculture Academy as well as the Permaculture Design course. So the PDC starts in just a few weeks from now, and it's a 4-month kickstart to your permaculture life. If you haven't already taken a permaculture design course, I highly recommend it. Changed my life, and I think it changed these guys' life too.
Yeah.
Man, Ben, I have to say the highlight for today for me was the research that you guys did and some of those in empirical findings about how people's thinking changed as a result of a permaculture design course. That was super interesting. Anyhow, you can find more information out on our website, and we'd love to have you. It's gonna be another incredible class, and then right after that, when you guys are ready to take the next step in your permaculture journey, we've got an academy that we're launching. We're kickstarting the academy off with the Building Your Permaculture Property Masterclass, where Alan and I are going to help you work through your permaculture dream, give you all the tools and resources that you need to thrive on your permaculture journey.
Yeah. Here comes the crew. We got a winner to announce. So one lucky person in the crowd has won a $1,000 gift certificate toward a passive solar home planning contract. Trying to get out of the way. Just get on the lap. Come on. It's crazy. What? So many. Someone in the crowd. I don't think they are. How do we take our own screenshot?
No,
Was
no.
like a
Did
snippet.
we announce the winner? Did we just leave
We
it
had
for
3
somebody?
people email me today with screenshots.
Did we really? Okay, take screenshots.
And actually, they're not going to get a very good one while we're sharing our screen.
No.
Okay. Wait. We'll wait. And then we just need to announce the winner. The winner is Steve Stamu.
All right, Steve.
Yeah.
Was
All
it
right.
really $1,000?
$1,000 towards a passive solar home planning contract.
Yay.
That's a significant chunk of change.
Cash.
And we are giving away a 1-hour consultation with
We're
Mitch.
actually giving away Mitch.
We're giving away Mitch. You're gonna have to fight.
They don't want
Maddie
me
for
anymore.
it. So if you want Mitch, then please tell us what do we want to?
What's the name of the author that
Yes.
you really love?
What is the name of one of Mitch's dogs?
Oh, good one.
Okay, yeah.
Somebody's got to put that form in the chat. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Alan's on it.
Thank you, Elaine. And
Oh, yeah, it's me.
switch over here. And then, of course, today would not have been possible without the support of On-Growing Works. They are your one-stop shop for everything design, build, construction in the way of sustainable living spaces, whether that's your dream home, your dream landscape, your dream rainwater harvesting system. The crew at On Growing Works can make that happen for you. And we are so glad to have partnered with them for this event. So thank you, On Growing Works, for your support. Thank you, On Growing Works, for your giveaways. And thanks for just being such a cool team of people. And of course, a big thank you to all of our community sponsors, and in particular, Contour Map Generator. You saw the power of LiDAR and contour mapping with Zach Weiss today and with Mitch's presentation. Mitch is the product manager for Contour Map Generator. And if you have been wanting to unlock the potential of your property, you want to see some of those neat features that Mitch is showing in the way of aspect and slope, you're going to want to go and pick yourself up and more. There's more. You're going to want to go pick up yourself a contour map from Contour Map Generator. There's a lot of different levels that you can get from $20 all the way up to $150, and it's well worth the investment. So go check that out.
And if you have any questions or anything, just email maps@vergepermaculture.ca and I will respond to that email.
Yes.
It's been a long day.
Again, a Charlie horse.
And that's that. Thank you, everyone.
Wait, we're not done. We need to pose for someone to take a screenshot. If you're in the crowd,
Okay, call Alan
there's
back.
a 10-15 second lag. So we're going to be posing for like 10-15 seconds here.
Alan!
Yeah, you gotta scoot.
I can do it too.
And they
We
can't-
don't have to wait for 15 seconds. We need to get Alan back.
Someone's probably taking like a million screenshots.
Can you type in
Gonna get
snag
the
it?
mid-
Oh, there you go. Snag it. SAN. There you go.
You gotta like sit up that
Just
way,
one G.
Rob, or we're gonna.
Whoa.
I can't do it. Hang on. That's not gonna
I think we
work.
gotta go on this side of the lane.
How are we gonna make that?
Yeah, we gotta get it on.
Hold on.
Yay!
We're not even.
Oh, yeah, we gotta give us
Just
like
give
a.
us a second.
Okay, ready? 1, 2. Corbin looks high. Okay, all right, and that's a wrap.
Okay, thank you.